Time to start over. My husband beamed as my mother-in-law showed up with a tray of pastries. Almonds. Your favorite, she smiled. But something felt off. We sat down to drink the coffee. Then, without warning, his mother went limp. I can't feel... My name is Lara. I'm 30 years old and work as an office administrator at a mid-sized logistics company. I've been married to Joshua for just over 2 years. We met through a client partnership at work. He was a mid-career hire from a firm we collaborated with. At first, he seemed lost, awkward even, but he quickly found his footing. He was clever, charismatic even. And when he smiled at me, I wanted to believe it was real. Back then, it probably was. Our relationship progressed fast. Within 8 months, he proposed. I said yes because he seemed gentle, affectionate, and dependable. He couldn't cook to save his life, but he handled the laundry, cleaned the apartment, and took out the trash without being asked. I cooked, he cleaned. Simple. But lately, something had changed. Subtle at first, then glaring. Joshua had grown cold, detached. He barely looked up from his phone anymore. He no longer asked how my day went. Conversations became dry and mechanical, about bills, groceries, or schedules. He'd disappear into the other room, claiming he had calls from work late at night. Even more telling? His mother started visiting more often, uninvited, staying too long, criticizing everything from my posture to the food I served. Once she snapped, "No snacks ready? You know I'm coming." What kind of wife doesn't prepare for family guests? I managed a neutral smile. "You didn't let me know you were dropping by." Joshua used to defend me. "Mom, give her a break." But lately, he joined her chorus. "She's right. You could be more considerate." That cut deeper than I let on. I wasn't imagining it. They were aligning. Against me. And then, out of nowhere, Joshua suggested we have coffee together one Saturday afternoon. He said his mother would join us. Said she wanted to reconnect. That alone was enough to put my guard up. Joshua doesn't make coffee, ever. He hates the way I take it. Black, no sugar. He thinks it's bitter and aggressive. But now, suddenly, he wanted to serve me coffee? It felt off. He acted overly sweet that morning, kissed my forehead, took out the trash, picked up fresh flowers. I stood in the kitchen watching him pour ground beans into the French press like a man rehearsing for a commercial. His mother arrived with a tray of pastries and what looked like genuine cheer in her voice. "I brought your favorite, almond croissants." Joshua beamed. We figured it's time to start fresh. The moment they weren't looking, I opened the cabinet above the fridge and turned on the small hidden camera I'd installed the night before. Did I know what exactly they were planning? No, but the way my husband had been acting, the whispers, the tension, the strange sweetness, I wasn't going to sit back and find out the hard way. Something was coming. I could feel it. Joshua handed me a cup first. "This one's yours," he said, voice bright. "I brewed it exactly how you like it." I thanked him, pretending not to notice how his hand trembled slightly when he set it down. Then I looked at the cup. The surface had a light foam on it. Nothing strange at first glance, but it smelled different. The rich, earthy roast was there, but under it, a faint sweetness like cough syrup, or something synthetic, like a trace of vanilla extract laced with something metallic. I didn't take a sip. I smiled. "Actually," I looked at his mother. "You mentioned you like John Legend, right?" She blinked. "What?" "I recorded his live performance on The Late Show last night. Want to see it?" Her eyes lit up. "Oh, yes, please. Let me get the remote," I said quickly. Joshua got up too. "I'll grab plates for the croissants." Perfect. While they were both in the other room, I quietly reached across the table and switched the cups. My heart pounded as I slid the original one in front of his mother and took her untouched cup for myself. By the time they returned, I had already moved back into my seat, pretending to adjust the television input. His mother was already lifting the cup to her lips. Joshua glanced toward me, then at her, and smiled faintly. "I know it's strong," he said, watching his mother sip. "But it'll relax you." She took 2 more swallows. I didn't touch mine. We sat for another 10 minutes, eating in silence. Joshua watched me carefully. I lifted the cup a few times, blew on it, and pretended to take small sips. I let it hover at my lips while nodding at his mother's fake stories about her yoga group and the brilliant new tax advisor she'd met at her club. And then it happened. Martha, that's my mother-in-law, stopped mid-sentence. Her fork clinked against the plate. She blinked, slowly, her head tilted slightly to one side. "Are you all right?" Joshua asked. She didn't respond. A moment later, she clutched the arm of the chair and murmured, I don't feel... Her body slumped. Her breathing became heavy, but she didn't fall, more like melted into the cushions. Unconscious. Dead weight. Joshua leapt up. "Mom? Mom, what's wrong?" He turned to me, eyes wide. "What did you do?" I calmly set my coffee cup down, untouched, and looked him straight in the eyes. "I think the better question," I said evenly, "is what did you put in her cup?" His mouth opened, but nothing came out. I stood. "You want to know the really bad news, Joshua?" I said, pulling the small remote from my pocket. "I recorded the whole thing." Joshua stood frozen. His hand still hovered above his mother's arm, unsure whether to shake her or shield her. "What are you talking about?" he finally barked. "You're accusing me? After what just happened?" "No," I said calmly, placing the small black remote control on the table. "I'm not accusing. I'm stating a fact." He stared at me like he didn't understand English. "Joshua," I continued, stepping toward the TV, "you might have noticed the little camera above the fridge." "Probably not. You've never cleaned up there." His eyes darted toward the kitchen cabinets, then back to me. I pressed the play button on the remote. The TV screen blinked to life. The footage was clear. Joshua in the kitchen, alone, while I'd been in the bedroom earlier. The camera had caught the angle perfectly. Him measuring something out of a small unlabeled bottle and adding it into one of the coffee mugs. He was humming while doing it. The living room went silent, aside from the soft background noise of the recording. Joshua's mouth moved, but no sound came out. I crossed my arms. "She drank your cup," I said, "because I switched them. Because I didn't trust you." He looked like he might be sick. "I didn't. It wasn't..." He waved a hand toward his unconscious mother. "She's just dizzy. Maybe it's her blood sugar. She doesn't have blood sugar issues." "How would you know?" "Because she says it 3 times a week, every time she turns down dessert like a martyr." I stared at him, unblinking. "Nice try." He looked down at his mother, panic rising. "We need to call an ambulance." "You can," I replied. "But you'll need to explain why she has a system full of Zolpidem or whatever you chose to spike the coffee with." He didn't answer. His hands curled into fists, then unclenched. "I didn't mean for her to drink it," he muttered. You were supposed to..." "What, Joshua?" I said. "Finish your sentence." "I was supposed to what?" He was breathing hard now, pacing the room. "You don't get it." "You never did, I'm starting to." He turned to face me. His whole expression had changed. No more fake concern, no charm. Just a cold, defeated smirk. "You're smart, Lara," he said. "I'll give you that." "I'm also recording this conversation," I added. That made him flinch. I picked up my phone from the coffee table and tapped the screen. A red blinking dot glowed in the corner. "You want to try again?" I asked. "Say what you were going to say." "What was the plan?" He didn't speak. I stepped closer. "Let me help you out," I said. "You drug me." I pass out. And then... He exhaled slowly, then sat down on the couch next to his unconscious mother, looking drained. "There was a guy," he said finally. "His name doesn't matter." "No, it probably does." Joshua ignored that. "He was supposed to show up." "After you passed out, I said nothing. I let him talk. He would have staged a few pictures." "You and him, together. Just enough to make it look real." My blood went cold. Even expecting something terrible, hearing it out loud was like being kicked in the chest. Joshua kept talking, almost absently now. "Nothing sexual, all right? It was just visuals. You in bed. Him shirtless. Maybe one of your hands on him. Then he leaves. You wake up. Have no idea. I confront you. You deny it. I show you photos." He glanced at me, voice low. "You would have cracked. You would have signed anything just to make it disappear." He leaned forward, elbows on knees. "It was supposed to be clean. No alimony. No property division. You take the blame." "I move on." "Move on with who?" I asked. His silence was answer enough. I walked over to the end table, pulled open the drawer, and took out a manila envelope. I tossed it onto the coffee table in front of him. He didn't touch it. Go ahead, I said. Take a look. He opened it slowly. Inside, printed photographs. Him and a woman, younger, in stilettos, with a bright fake smile, entering a hotel, exiting 2 hours later. Another photo at a restaurant. One more, walking into what was clearly her apartment building. I'd had my suspicions for a long time. But I'd only hired the private investigator the week before, after the coffee invitation, after the sudden shift in his tone. He flipped through the photos in silence. I knew something was coming, I said. I didn't know what. But I trusted you so little I bought a hidden camera and put it in my own kitchen. Think about that, Joshua. He stayed quiet. You underestimated me, I added. You always did. He looked up finally, eyes dull. So what now? Now, I said. You're going to listen carefully. I laid it out clearly, one bullet point at a time. You're going to sign divorce papers, no contest. You're not getting a cent of my savings. You're walking away from the apartment. No appeals. No lawyers. He started to open his mouth, but I raised a finger. If you say one word, I send the video to the police. And to your job. And your new girlfriend. I'll also let your mom know exactly what was in her cup when she wakes up. His face twisted. She doesn't know. She doesn't? I blinked. So, she played along with a sedative-laced cup of coffee and the plan to frame me with a stranger without knowing? He didn't answer. That's fine, I said. You can both explain it to the police together. Or, you sign the papers. Today. And disappear. He stared at the floor for a long moment. Then he nodded, just once. Joshua sat motionless, still staring at the envelope of photos like they might disappear if he waited long enough. His mother was beginning to stir beside him, groaning softly, her eyelids fluttering as consciousness returned. You should probably call someone, I said, eyeing her. But maybe not the police. Unless you want them asking why your mother's bloodstream contains enough sedative to drop a grown man. He didn't reply. He reached for his phone, hand trembling slightly, and called an ambulance. While he talked to the dispatcher, I walked to the bedroom and pulled a pre-packed duffel bag from the closet. I'd prepared it 2 days earlier, after installing the camera. I'd hoped I wouldn't need it. But somewhere deep down, I knew I would. By the time the paramedics arrived, I had gathered everything important. Passport, documents, hard drive, camera backups, and copies of the video stored in multiple cloud accounts. Joshua's voice was flat as he explained that his mother had fainted after coffee. He didn't mention the sedative, didn't mention the plan. But he met my eyes once as the paramedics lifted Martha onto a stretcher, and I could see the panic behind the blank stare. They didn't ask many questions yet. She was conscious but groggy, confused and irritable. I watched from the hallway as they wheeled her out, mumbling that the coffee tasted too sweet, before drifting off again. Joshua stood in the entryway, rubbing his jaw. You really recorded the whole thing? He asked quietly. I did. He nodded once. I'll sign the papers, he said. You'll do more than that. He looked up sharply. You're going to send me written confirmation relinquishing any claim to the apartment. And I want it notarized. No cute tricks. I'm not going to court over this, I already said. No, I cut him off. You said you'd sign the divorce. You didn't say you'd give up everything you were trying to steal from me. He hesitated, and I let the silence press down like a weight. Finally, he nodded again. Fine. Good, I said, turning to leave. Where are you going? He asked. To get a lawyer. And to get away from here before I throw my phone through your face. That finally shut him up. Over the next 3 days, I worked with a family law attorney who didn't blink when I showed her the video. She watched the whole thing silently, then simply said, We'll make this very clean. We filed immediately. Joshua didn't contest. I drafted a formal separation agreement, stripped of any financial obligations from my side. He kept his car and his personal effects. I kept everything else, including the apartment, my savings, and my sanity. As part of the agreement, I insisted he submit a written statement confirming that he would not attempt to challenge the divorce or claim emotional damages, nor would he pursue any public discussion of our separation. He signed it. All of it. My lawyer said he'd likely been advised by someone, or scared enough by the legal implications of what the video contained, to comply without resistance. Good. Martha, his mother, ended up staying in the hospital overnight for observation. I didn't visit. I heard through a friend of a friend that she made a scene upon waking, accusing the hospital staff of drugging her and threatening to sue the ambulance company. Typical. She eventually learned the truth, or at least the version Joshua told her. I don't know how he spun it, but given that neither of them showed up to the divorce hearing, I assumed it didn't go over well. A few weeks later, I received a package in the mail from Joshua's workplace, a standard HR letter stating that he had resigned for personal reasons. Translation: the video, or word of it, had reached them. That wasn't my doing, but I wasn't sorry either. As for the woman in the photographs, Joshua's little side project, she disappeared, vanished like the staged life they were trying to build together. Maybe she'd caught wind of what he did. Maybe she realized she could be next if things ever turned south. I received one final text from him 2 days after the divorce was finalized. I never wanted it to go that far. You were always smarter than I thought. I didn't reply. Instead, I sent a photo of the empty space on the wall where the camera used to be, a blank, clean corner above the fridge, and then blocked his number. 3 months later, I stood on the balcony of my new apartment across town, sipping real coffee, no foam, no additives, no expectations. I decorated this place myself. No traces of Joshua. No passive-aggressive mother-in-law furniture. Just clean lines, sunlight, plants that actually thrived. I'd also gotten a promotion at work. Apparently, when you're not walking on eggshells or plotting counter-surveillance on your husband, your brain has room to breathe. Go figure. Sometimes I still think about that day, about how close I came to drinking that cup, about how close they came to ruining my life, not through violence, but through quiet, calculated erasure. People think betrayal always comes with yelling or breaking things. Sometimes it comes in a ceramic mug and a smile. But here's what they didn't count on. I don't shatter. I sharpen.